Publicity, and we are coming to you from our offices today in Contra Studios in the heart of New York City. Today we have a live chat with a man who really needs no introduction, but he has to get one, Mr. Kendall Schmidt of Big Time Rush and Heffron Drive. Welcome, Kendall. Whoa, where did he go? Welcome, Kendall. And that's it, folks. That's all we have for you here. Just a little flyby.
What's going on, dude? How are you?
Good, man. Good. Thanks for coming down to the studio.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Well, one of the reasons we chose to go live today was because, you know, with Heffron Drive and how the reemergence is now, you know, you're recording and you're writing, but it's really to keep the fans first. So we wanted to allow the fans to stream in some questions, text in some questions, or additionally maybe even bring some fans on camera to ask questions. Wow, we just actually maxed out on broadcast requests, so that's good. So apparently there are so many people on watching right now that people who are trying to log on cannot. So they may have to watch later.
Which is kind of a good problem to have, right?
I guess so. I guess that there are certain problems that are good to have for sure. But one of the, like I said, one of the reasons is fans first, you know, but first, we know that you were at the premiere last night. We were talking off camera on some of the different things, the shenanigans maybe that went on. How was it with Niall last night in the One Direction premiere?
It was actually really unbelievable, and for me, it was weird to see it from that perspective, because a lot of the stuff I was watching he's done, you know, as a fan of Big Time Rush, and it was like, it was cool to take a step back and just watch something for what it was, and honestly, I mean, they've always been supportive of us, so it makes sense to be there, and plus, he asked me, so I'm not going to say no, and a trip to New York is not exactly a bad thing.
Right.
I was here, and it was fun. I was actually really surprised with the way the movie was done. Like, I know all this, I know what goes into their life, so I wasn't surprised by how much was involved in traveling and stuff like that, but to actually see the way it was cut together in, like, 3D, obviously, so, like, that kind of stuff was crazy, but I was very impressed, and the after party was fun. We hung out, and now they're back to England, just like that.
They're back somewhere, and you were at the oldest bar in Manhattan, which neither of us can seem to remember the name of last night.
Yeah, it's like an Italianish.
Anyone know off camera what that bar happens to be? We can give them a little plug, you know, so the next time we go down there.
Kendall's.
Okay. We'll go with that then.
That's what I'm going to go with.
Well, if that movie can actually bring you in who knows the lifestyle so well, then I'm sure it's going to be amazing for fans to actually have a true appreciation of what life is like.
Well, I don't think they really know how much just goes into it. I think it's really what it shows, like, how much they haven't been home. And same thing, like, I see the guys from Big Time Rush far more than I see my own brother. So, it really was a cool, interesting perspective. But like I said, for me, it was cool to step back and support, especially since they had come to our premiere for Big Time Movie when that came out, so I was there. I was loving it. Fun.
You were his plus one. You only get 1 + 1, folks. You know, so also, have you and Nickelodeon really determined what the balance is going to be for Big Time Rush and you guys coming up since the show's no longer going to be on air?
Well, that's actually a great question because, you know, just very well, just because the show isn't on air doesn't mean it's the last content on Nickelodeon. I mean, they still it's their brand, and like, you know, we've built it so much together, so I think we're just trying to figure out what the next move is, and I have a big meeting coming up actually in 2 weeks, and we'll find out a lot about presence on television and also what music.
And it's going to be difficult for you because obviously you're going over to Australia, which we'll get into a little bit later, and then you're touring with Heffron Drive and Big Time Rush and Downs and all that.
You know what though, but that's the fun part of it. I mean, like, otherwise it would be boring and doing the same thing over and over every day, so it gets old.
It's kind of like our problem with users being maxed out right now.
Yeah,
and we're maxed out again, so I guess yet again a good problem that you have too many tours happening. So now what we're going to do is we're going to start to go in. Arthur, if you could actually bring in one of the questions from the users that we have for a text question, that would be great. And so first is Kendall. This is from EM. Kendall, I love you so much.
I love you too.
So second, is Big Time Rush going to continue to be a band? If you are, I guess this is the third part. If you are there any things you can tell us? Rushies, we're desperate.
Oh, okay. Yeah, of course, Big Time Rush is always going to be a band. So that's the first part of the question. What can I tell you? I can tell you I'm going to learn a lot more in a couple weeks about just what the next music cycle is for us, and then I think we're also trying to figure out what like our 2014 tour schedule would be. And being that we've sort of covered the U.S., I mean,
you plastered the U.S.
Yeah, really. I mean, we've played some of the venues we played 3 times, and they're big venues too. So it's like we need to go play somewhere.
What's the largest you've played?
The largest headlining show we ever did Well, Mexico is always pretty crazy. We just got the one we just did in Mexico City South.
Okay. And you did like back-to-back nights of sold-out shows?
Yeah, we did 2 shows at Jones Beach, which was unbelievable last year.
Which is great because it also helps as a fundraiser for not UNICEF, what is it? Salvation Army.
Yes, and we actually did some Salvation Army stuff before we went.
With did you do it with
I was
Charlotte
serving
Charlotte Jones Anderson and the whole team at the Cowboys?
No, we went just as a band, and I think people were wondering why like young pop-looking dudes were serving turkey dinner. But
when I did that, it was actually we had who was it? Destiny's Child actually.
Really?
Who did the show, and it was right when they came out with their song Soldier, which was very cool because they had a whole military tie to the event. I know, right? Many years ago. But the Jones family is a great family.
So much
a
is
great
happening.
Organization. So what's now that he and I just continue to talk about aside questions, what's the next question that we have, Arthur? I'm seeing something from Nikki, but I'm not actually seeing the question pop up. So maybe all I see is Nikki. Nikki, if you are out there, we see your question, but we actually don't see exactly what you are asking. We do. That was probably a great question too, because Arthur does have good tasting questions.
Good.
It did. So, Margaret.
Well, if anything, we've just said Nikki 3 or 4 times now, so she's probably happy either way.
Exactly.
Nikki.
For some, all right, here we go.
Hey.
From Alexis Pena, what do you miss most about touring? In between the 5 days a year that you don't tour, what do you miss most about it when you're not touring?
I actually really like the traveling, seeing different places that you've never been before, and I'm a big foodie, so I like going and just finding restaurants. I'm a king of urban food. Okay. Like people always go,
product plug. You're welcome.
Such a great restaurant. How'd you find out? I'm like, it's
you don't have like the lowdown. You don't have your publicist lurking to see Urban Spoon.
It's Urban Spoon, and
if you guys didn't hear it, it's Urban Spoon.
They don't pay me anyway, so they're getting free promotion.
They may soon now.
Yeah, right. We really like that guy.
I want to cut.
I don't know. We'll work on some term deals, but the whole thing is I just like to see places I haven't been before, and that's what the whole benefit of being in a band is. One of the many things besides having the best job ever, but like just traveling, even places you don't think of. Like I made the most of Buffalo bar and had the original Buffalo wings from, so things like that you do that are really cool.
They're like little life experiences in that microcosm.
Well, you learn a lot about yourself too, and also like it's a lot of life experience to reference to be able to talk. You pretty much travel the world and have a good way of understanding.
Absolutely, that is one of the interesting things when you do travel is you can figure out you've been to some restaurant or bar or something that has in common with that person.
I can actually reference somebody. Yeah,
sure.
This one time I was in Germany and I'm like, oh, I know that. I've been in Germany. Like I love it. So it's cool to be able to actually reference.
Now, being a foodie and being from Kansas, are you a barbecue guy, or what's your background?
Well, I love barbecue just as much as anybody else. Kansas City barbecue, we all know is the best. Sorry, anybody from Texas or Memphis. But I am a fan of all foods.
Okay.
Recently, I've been into the gastropub kind of thing, where it's like we eat fancy burgers.
They have that's big on what's that show we watch, Chris? Is Chris here? What's that show we watch with John Topper? Bar Rescue.
Oh, yeah,
Bar Rescue does a lot of those types of
and burgers. I love watching that show, by the way.
It's great, isn't it? Like Sundays, well, you probably don't see it on Sundays because you're traveling a lot.
He's a real stickler sometimes.
He is, and he's coming out with a new show actually. So they're now like making him the franchise apparently.
Wow.
So Isabella just asked, and I don't know if there is an actual answer to this, but she asked, "What is your favorite food?"
How about the meat or the candy of meat, bacon? It's really good. Come on, everybody knows that.
The candy of meat. Okay, that was good. I think that might be in their next advertising campaign. We're going to do one more text question. Exactly, good point. Well, with certain religions, they do.
Okay.
Well, the next question is, what is your favorite memory from the summer break tour? This from Sinful Sindal.
Hey.
Nice. Whoa. Hi there.
Favorite memory from summer break tour. Just the shows in general, but Mexico was really great. Even in Mexico, all the shows were and it's so hard to ever say that because people are like, well, what about this one?
Right.
They're all great for different reasons, and like, you try to make the most of every show by switching it up when you're on stage and not saying the exact same thing. obviously there's certain parts of the show that keep the flow and rhythm, but you know, St. Augustine was cool because our tour account, who isn't ever on the road, he just happened to live in St. Augustine, brought his like doorless Jeep, and we drove the Jeep there to like they have beach you can drive on the beach, and it's like I think it's the oldest city in America. St. Augustine.
It is. That's where Ponce de Leon tried to find the Fountain of Youth.
Yeah, he didn't find it.
No, he did, but apparently maybe you did. He's hottie of the week 2 weeks ago.
I was. Yeah.
Well, exact. Now he's brought the scruff out. No longer hottie of the week, so I don't know if that's a message that Juliana sent.
Sorry, guys, we're trying to be a man.
So let's see if we can, Arthur. Let's see if we can bring on an actual video question from one of the 2,000 plus people we have. This is going to be Kristen Pena. Hi, Kristen.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, Kendall.
How are you?
I'm sorry. Really nervous.
No problem. Don't be, we totally understand. What is your question for Mr. Kendall Schmidt?
If you were ever to find a genie, what would your 3 wishes be?
Oh.
For more wishes would be one of them. 3 wishes. I'm gonna sound like so like hippie right now. Like